So today we'll start with the staffing models, which is the second core concept, the second core pillar in the Workday HCM. And it's a small topic. It's not a big topic, but enabling the right staffing model makes a lot of difference in any organization that you have to work with. All right. So let's go through a little bit of theory and then we'll jump right into the practicals of it. So we'll go over the overview of what that is, and these two are the staffing model, which you should have already noted down in your notes in the initial sessions when we did the core concepts. Okay. So what is a staffing model? Staffing models are used to determine how jobs are defined and filled, provide different levels of control over staffing, and support different staffing goals. So the principle here is, the focus here is on staffing. How do you staff? How does your company want to add more people, or what do you want to do with the people who are already in the system, and what they want to do, what the process looks like once an employee leaves the organization. And in the second bullet point, it says every supervisory org must be associated with the staffing model. You can only have one staffing model at one time. In your complete organization setup, you can have multiple organizations, a mix of staffing models as well, but at one time, only one staffing model will be applied, will be associated with one organization. And these are applied at supervisory organization. Now let's start with position management. Now, before we do that, let's go through a small visualization activity, because that will always be the prime help for you. So I'm opening up a whiteboard here. All right, so you have two boxes right in front of you, one which has different shapes in it, one which has all the similar type of shapes in it. So if you want to take a wild case, one of them is position management, one of them is job management. The one on the left is your position management. The one on the right is your job management. Now let's discuss what makes these two different. Okay, so I'll reduce the size of it. So position management is all about positions. Now, whenever we say positions is nothing but the chair in your company. You can think of it as a physical chair that you use to sit on in the office. You go to office, you sit on that chair. That is nothing but your position. Now, what you do sitting in that position is the cover of your position, which is defined by the job profile. Okay, so over to the left in position management, like I said, always visualize your position as the chair you are sitting in. So each and every chair, now let's say this is a conference room, the one on the top. These are three different chairs. Now, why are these different? Because the person sitting in it is doing a different role. Let's say one can be a senior software developer, then other can be a solutions architect, the other can be a senior director or a senior manager. They might be in the same team, reporting to the same person, but they all are doing different things. They all are being hired to fill a specific gap within the organization. Therefore, whenever the positions are open for them, every position requires approval, a series of approvals from the business, from the finance team, from the HR. And you have control that this position can be in Boston, this position can be in New Jersey, this position can be in California. So each and every element of that position you can control, you can change. This can be a part-time worker, this can be a full-time worker, this can be a contingent worker. So you hire for a specific skill set. And this is the most commonly used staffing model in the organization. because your headcount reporting becomes very, very, I'll say organized. And that's the right word. Yeah, it becomes very organized because you have complete headcount of the positions that are there. Out of this, how many are open positions, how many are positions that are newly created. You can basically report on all kinds of things related to positions. But when it comes to job management, the job is defined, like what the job would be, and that is defined through your job profile. The hiring is very flexible. You have control over the job, but you can change it. But since the primary difference, I wanted to write in the end, but the very first point is the most important difference between position management. Your hiring restrictions. There's something called as hiring restrictions, which I'll show you in a minute in the tenant. In position management, they are applied at each position. That's why you have most control on every position. But in case of job management, they are applied at the supervisory organization level, which means all these 4 stars will be doing the same thing. They'll have the same job. Might also be in the same location, maybe are also at the same time. That's why the visualization, everything is same. And it's flexible. You only need to, like, let's say if you're a manager, you need 10 software developers working on the same thing. You just get an approval from the business and the finance that you need these many people. Give them a ballpark number that you need these many people, and please give me the budget for this, so on and so forth. And they will give you an approval. Now you hire 8, you hire 10, you hire 11. As long as you have the budget, you can do it. And when I said open-ended hiring, it means that as and when that person is available, you can hire them. A good example of job management is you can visualize this as a warehouse, like an Amazon warehouse, where everyone is doing the same thing, packaging and deliveries, right? Or any, like, these delivery partners like Zomato, Swiggy, or if you talk about in the US, it's Uber Eats. So all of them can be in under a job management organization. Why? Because they all are doing the same thing. Whether you have an MBA graduation or you have a college degree or you don't have a degree, it does not matter. As long as you have a valid driving license, no criminal record, you will be hired as a driver. Whether it's a part-time, full-time, hourly basis, salaried basis, that's up to the company. So your hiring is flexible and you keep it open until you have the volume of people in your organization. But in case of position management, you have to be very specific with each and every position that you're trying to hire for. Now, I'll request you to take a picture of this for your reference. 1 second. And the common thing between both of these is your job profile. Because without this, now you can create a job or a position. So this is important. Now you can take a picture of it. So this is a different tenant that I have now received because yesterday I was having issues with the GMS tenant. So I think now I have the same tenant, which you guys also have. So that is why if I'm doing something during the session, please do not log in the backend because my access will be like it's on a sharing basis. So my access will be gone. Let's wait until we finish the session. Okay, so we'll use this as an example. And if you look at the staffing model, it's based on a position management. If you go to any subordinate, you go to staffing, position management. Now, if I go ahead and create another branch out of it, that will also be of position management because that's the default behavior. It inherits from the top. One thing I did not add here is this is more important than the first point because a very common interview question comes up is, can you change the staffing model? The answer is yes, but there is a condition to it. And that condition is defined in the last point. So for position management, now I'll give you an example right here. We have XPD executive management. Now, if I go to the related actions, there is no position open here. It's just an empty org right now in front of us. Now, everything happens through your organization and reorganization tab, these two. Most of the options that you have to do will be in either in organization or reorganization. So this one applies here. When your organization is empty, specifically in position management, you will get an option of editing the staffing model. I can change that to job management. Why I'm able to do this is because there are no open positions. Now it's job management. And I'll still have that option because, first of all, this defines until no position is open. Once I open a position in a position management organization, I won't be able to change it. For example, if I go to one level up, which is XPD USA, right, this one already has a position right here, though it's not completed, it's still in progress. If I try to do the same thing here, I won't even get that option. Observe the difference once it opens up. I don't even have the option of edit staffing model here. Why? Because there's already a position in work in this position management organization. So if you even have at least one of the positions created, even if you have not hired anyone, the system will not allow you to change the staffing model. But in case of this, we were able to do it. Why? Because there is no open position. And same case with job management. Until we don't set the hiring restrictions, we need to set the hiring restrictions. Until we don't do that, we can still change it. And that is what I was going to move you to the next, is I can still change it to position management. Move to organization. I still have that option. But if I use this hiring restrictions, set it on this organization, then I won't get that option, which is what is written in the right-hand side on the job management, until hiring restrictions are set. Okay, now I'll keep this open. I'll keep this as job management. I'll open another org in another tab. We'll observe the differences. So on one hand, you have your XPD department, which is based on your job management. On the right-hand side, you have the human resources, which is based on position management. Okay, now see the difference on how the staffing actually happens. When I have to do staffing in any position management organization, there are multiple ways to do it. But as a beginner, it's always better to navigate from the source, which is where you have to create your positions. So I'll go to the related actions from my organization. You go to the staffing option, and you will have an option to create position. And this option is specific to position management only. I'll click on that. I'll fill it later, but let's look into the left-hand side where we have the job management. If I click on it and navigate to staffing, I don't even have the create position option because Workday understand that this is a job management and we only work through hiring restrictions. That is how it works. Now let's go to the right again. So we'll fill a job posting title, let's say test or XPD. And I want two positions. So observe here, in position management, they're asking for a count because each and every count matters here. So you can have 5 positions, 10 positions open at once, but the approvals will go in the system. Someone has to approve those within the system. It's not the case with job management. So let's finish the position management first. Remember, you are being asking for a number of positions. Since we don't have any job profile created, which we'll do in tomorrow's sessions, I'll just use an existing one. Let's say, I think I should have something of my previous one created. Let's say I pick this Workday analyst. Selected this, I'll add some test values here. If the job profile comes with its own description and summary, it will auto-populate it. We don't have to add that. Locations, yes, we have created, but it's a different tenant for me. So Renuka, I'm assuming XPD, you have this. So I'll select this. Maybe I'll select multiple that you have these positions open for New York and UK as well. Time types, these are Workday delivered values. Time type and worker type. Don't get confused. Time type is your full-time or part-time. Workday delivered, we cannot change it. Okay. Worker type are also Workday delivered, again of two types, employee and contingent. Employee is a regular full-time, contingent are used for your contract workers, not part-time, contract workers. And then once you select the type, your subtype column opens up, which is configurable. You can add values to it, but we mostly use the regular type. They also have interns. So if I give you a complete list of it, you can see casual, expatriate, full-time, interns. So you can also use that, but we'll go with regular. These three options up to you if you want to use them, but if you want to make use of position management in a much better way, much efficient way, you should use this, which is called as available for overlap. Now, what this is this is that one rare scenario in position. Ideally, positions are open for one person, right? You have a chair, only one person can sit in it. That's the ideal scenario. Even if you visualize your working culture in office, there's one position, there's one chair in which you sit, right? Now, if you mark them available for overlap, this would only be those rare scenarios where someone is being terminated with a future termination date. And you want someone, you already have someone identified in the company or someone outside the company who can fill in the shoes. And you want them to be trained, like kind of a knowledge transfer, until that person is available in the organization. So that position then becomes available for an overlap. Overlap means that two people can sit. We call it sitting in the lap. So the new person will be sitting in the lap of the older person until they are trained, or until whichever comes first, until they are trained or until the termination date comes. But if you don't allow this, then either way, you will have to create a new position for that new hire that you. But this is a very rare occurrence, but it's always good to have this. Companies don't use this because sometimes this create some problems in reporting, headcount reporting, but I feel that then the reports are not being pulled up correctly. So this should always be enabled because position management is supposed to be used at its full length, not just partially. So you enter these values, and if you observe something, these are nothing but your hiring restrictions. And I have both these positions that will be created will have these restrictions, which I can obviously change at a later stage, which gives me more control on each and every position. So I'll click OK, and let's see what happens. So we have an approval pending for this. That's why we don't see it. And that is in Ashley's inbox. I'm gonna do a quick reassignment. Okay, so I have this approved. Now, if I go to my staffing, there was already an existing position which Renu got created. So I created these two ones. As you can see here, they have this job profile. They can be hired on any of these locations. These are the dates. And I can change that. Like I can go to the related actions. I can go to position restrictions and change it. It's not like you can change it every time, but you have the ability to change it. Let's say I need this to be a part-time employee. So we can change that. So we are doing it on every single position. Do we have an error? Enter a comment. Okay. You can see one is full-time, one is part-time. Now, if you have to do any hiring, you directly do that from the position. You go to the related actions, you go to the hire. There are multiple options because there are multiple ways you can do it, but you have to find out which one is the right one. So I know the second option is the one that we'll use. So we won't be hiring anyone because it's restricted. What we have to do is observe that you do hiring from directly from the position. You have options. You can have an existing pre-hire, you can have a former worker, you can create a new pre-hire. Now, if we look at, now this is what we had for position management. Now let's focus on job management over here. XPD executive management, it is based on your job management model. In this, as you already know, we don't have any options to create position. So what we do is we set the hiring restrictions as defined here. Hiring restrictions applied at supervisory org level. So what we do, we go to the organization option, set hiring restrictions. We will be doing the same thing that we did for a position in position management. We'll give it some date, but if you observe something, it is not asking me for any number of positions because we don't need a head count on this. And let's say, again, I hire for some sales associate. You can hire for multiple as well. It's not like you only have to hire for one. You have that much flexibility. The location, let's say I want all of them to be part-time. Now, the only reason it's happening this way, like if I put it in a full screen mode, I'll just do it on the same screen, but like it will happen. It won't open another tab for it. But since I wanted to show the difference. So we did almost the same thing. We added these restrictions. We also did that at the position. But right now we are doing this at an organization level. We are applying this at this organization. Earlier, we were applying it on each individual position. And there you go. And the way it looks like is available to fill versus the way we have it is that you have 3 positions to fill. Here, you will continue to see one even if you hire 100 employees. And how do you hire in this is, again, not through the job profile, through your organization. So you go to your related actions here. So you will have the hire option here. And this is how you do the hiring in job management. Again, you get those same options. Another important difference, if let's say you hire someone for this position and this person leaves, you have the ability to decide whether you want to keep that position open, reuse it, or remove it from the system. You can close the position, you can reuse it. But in case of job management, since there's no positions here, so that concept is not applicable here. Now, that I have here is of job management. Now I have the hiring restriction set, so I won't be able to change it back to position management. The same applies for the other organization. If I go to the organization tab, I don't have the option to edit the staffing model, though I can change the hiring restrictions, but I cannot change the staffing model now. And any subordinate, let's say this organization already has these subordinates. So if anyone is thinking they will automatically inherit job management, no, they were already here. So let's say if I go to finance, go to staffing, it will continue to be on position management because it was already here. But if I create a new one from this organization, which is based on job management, that will automatically inherit the job management. If they already exist and they have a staffing model, that won't change because one of the superior organizations changed it. Inheritance work when you are creating something, at that time they inherit. They don't inherit for existing entities in the system or existing objects in the system. Make sure you have this in your notes somewhere, because anytime someone talks about position management and job management, these two visuals should be immediately popping up in your heads, because then remembering these points are easy. And even if you just understand that this has most control, this is like flexible hiring, or you want to hire on a speed, you use job management. But if you want to be very specific about the skill set, go with position management. Now, the only caveat that the staffing model topic brings in is you can literally, any use case can be covered through both type of staffing models. For example, if you want to hire 5 software developers, each with a specific skill set. Right? The ideal option will be to go through position management. You create 5 positions, each with a different, maybe a job title, different title and all, and you need someone with different language skills also, right? As long as they're in the same location, right? Then only you can use both. But if you want them to hire for different locations, then position management is the right option. But if let's say they are being hired for the same location, you can also cater that through job management by keeping the hiring restrictions, basically the job profile, a little generic, that you're just looking for a software developer with these basic skills. And then you can hire 5 software developers through job management. But I've seen most companies, like the companies that I've worked for, they have all used position management. Some have used it partially, some have used it completely, and I'll still say the one that I've used it completely are much, much, much better off when it comes to reports. But I do understand the nuances of position management when the organization is more than 10,000 employees, and it becomes a little difficult to manage all the positions. So that's why they just, it's not that they don't want to do, it's just that it becomes a little heavier on the management side to manage it, basically, on the business side, to manage so many positions, specifically when the hiring is happening, in a speedy way, and they're bulking up the organizations. So both has its own use cases, but just letting you know that you can do it by both, like you can actually have these cases by both sides. You can either do position or job management, but one is always a much better option based on the use case that you're working with. Okay, so let's say you are a recruiting head. You need 5 more recruiters in your team because your company is expanding, right? Now, it's your decision that whether you want them to be hired with a specific skill set, like some are technical recruiters, some are not so technical recruiter, and what levels you need. So if you want that specific details on each and every recruiter, you go with position management. But if you just, like, there's something called a staff augmentation, which usually comes in place where you hire contract people to get the project started. So if you want something like that you need 5 recruiters as and when they're available, and should know basic recruiting skills, basic HR processes, and maybe one common skill set you need is they should be familiar how to use Workday system. So you can use job management also. So you can use both of them. It's just your preference on whether if you want to go very specific and different locations, you can use position management. But if it's the same location and you're not really concerned about if, they know Jira or ServiceNow, or they have, any specific certification, then you can go with job management. Ideally, if you notice something, when we did in yesterday's sessions, we created supervisory organization, right? The top level we create using the create supervisory, that is when we define it, that which staffing model we want to use, not at all levels. Then we only create subordinates. Only at the top level, we define actually what staffing model we want to use. And then it just inherits, which you can change also